Hello, and welcome to another episode of At the Root with Greg Kiper. This is the place where we get to the root of connection. Connection with ourselves and connection with others in our relationships. We are in a state of connection every second of every day. So how does your connecting work for you? What is the state of your connections? I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a certified holistic life coach, and a metaphysical teacher. I believe in the connection of mind, body, and spirit in order for each of us to be all we can be. Together, let's explore what it's like to be connected. In our last episode, we started talking about our attachment system. This system is a part of each and every one of us. We are born with it. It is innately within us. Now, what this means is that we have an inner desire and need for connection with others that has arisen over the millennia of evolution. As a species and individually, we don't do well without this sense of belonging, knowing that we are not alone. When we come into this existence, this sense of connection is raw and pure at its very basic level. And right away, it begins to change and evolve, molded by our environment and the attachment systems of others, principally our caregivers at that early stage of our life. The foundation of our attachment system is in their hands. And from that foundation, our sense of connection will grow and become the functioning of our later selves. How that functioning takes place hinges on those early years of connectivity learning. It is crucial for a lot of this learning to go in the right direction. Unfortunately, much too often, a lot of it goes in the wrong direction. I said it last episode, and it bears repeating. Emotional transactions between the caregiver and the child will mold the child's learning of regulating emotional states. No pressure there for the caregivers, right? Within this term, attachment system, there are two classifications: secure and insecure attachment. A securely attached person is one who experienced emotional transactions at an early age that were positive enough. They were headed in the right direction enough to help the child develop feelings of safety and learn emotional regulation and resilience. Because caregivers were mostly emotionally available, and they were perceptive and responsive to the needs and mental states of the child, a solid foundation was put in place on which to build upon. When we feel safe in our vulnerabilities, and we can manage our emotions, and we can bounce back from troubles that we face, we can connect with others in a more positive and rewarding manner. Insecure attachment means the opposite. The child's emotional transactions with caregivers were not supportive of developing feelings of safety and resilience. The caregivers were mostly emotionally unavailable or inconsistently available. They were most often not perceptive and responsive to the needs of the child. If you've been accused of not being present in your relationships, or of being dismissive and not validating your partner's feelings, this is where it started, way back when. You were not taught and you were not modeled the important, positive emotional transactions that would allow you to understand being present and supportive for others. You didn't have a say, and over time, this lack of learning evolved into the unconscious patterning you experience today in your relationships. The connections we so need and want won't develop as long as this autopilot is in control. In working with couples, I find it important to look at each partner's attachment system early in our sessions together. If either or both have insecure attachment systems, then more than likely it is affecting their emotional connectivity. There are different types of insecure attachment, and this is another reason for digging a little deeper into the early lives of the partners. These are typically labeled anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. We will spend some time talking about each of these. And today, I'd like to start with the anxious, insecure attachment system. As the name implies, partners with this type of system deal with a lot of anxiety about having their needs met or feeling secure in being loved or lovable. Their parents might have shown them love, but as children, they never knew when their parents might get distracted and utterly pull the rug out from underneath them. Their care was unpredictable or notably intermittent. Bids for connection were sometimes met, but not consistently. This created a sense of hypervigilance about relational slights of any kind or any hint of abandonment, really putting the attachment system into overdrive. Insecurely attached parents often intrude, not knowing when the child needs space, disrupting any connection with their own issues. As an adult, the anxiously attached can appear needy and suffer transitional stress. Curiosity and creativity can be diminished, and careers can suffer. There is a hyper-focus on personal relationships and a need for others to help regulate feelings. Many times the partner will get jealous easily, and there is generally a sense of abandonment or rejection lurking in their mind. Reassurance is needed pretty much constantly. There can be a fear that they will lose any goodness that they can take in. They want their partner's love, but don't know what to do with it. Last time, I relayed what happened in the individual session with Sara. Her answers to my questions and some of her mannerisms during the interview indicated to me that she is at least somewhat anxiously attached. Her mother's insecurity, dealing with a lot of anxiety about her having her needs met and feeling insecure in being loved or lovable, helped to mold the same in Sara. It doesn't appear that her mom knew when the kids needed their own space and often intruded with her own emotional baggage, relying on external input and overactivated emotional content. It appears Sara is doing much the same with her own children. I also noticed she showed pressured word flow and blended her past experiences with the present. You remember she talked about her family going camping and her mom would leave and then In the same breath, she relayed how her mom takes off today with her friends and leaves her dad alone. All of this can be indicators of the anxiously attached. It was Tony's turn for his individual session. He removed his coat and collapsed on the couch with a huge sigh, leaning his head back and slowly shaking it side to side. "Long day?" I asked. "Oh, yeah," he sighed. "My brain is full today. I'm just feeling a little maxed out. I couldn't wait to get out of there. There is so much ridiculous drama going on with my team right now. I just don't have the patience for drama. I don't do it well. But I'm the lead, so it affects me in all kinds of ways. I feel like a referee. Or a mother. Yeah, a mother. Mom and the kids. God help me." "So what does a referee feel like? Or a mom?" "What?" he asked. "You said you feel like a referee or a mom. What does that feel like?" "Oh, I don't know. It's a figure of speech." I didn't say anything, but just continued my gaze in his direction. "It feels bad, if you want to know the truth." "Bad is not a feeling. Can you come up with something else?" "Oh, I see what you're doing," he replied. "Well, it makes me feel mad. I get angry." "Well, that helps me understand a little better," I said. "Much of the time, when we feel anger, it is kind of a catch-all cover-up for other feelings. What do you feel is behind that anger?" "Sad, I guess, that I have to put up with the BS. Sad for me." He paused and looked at me. "I guess you can probably tell I don't do emotions well." I could definitely tell. I had suspected as much from the first session we had with the two of them. I moved on knowing that we'd be circling back around to the emotional piece much sooner than later. Last time I mentioned something we are all born with as humans called our attachment system. I want to give you a feel for what that is about and then see what your attachment system is like. He nodded his head and I continued. We're all born with a need for safety, satisfaction, and connection. That inborn need motivates us as babies to seek being close to our caregivers and to establish communication with them. Over time, this attachment evolves and establishes an interpersonal relationship with the caregivers. And it helps in our brain development using our caregiver's more mature brain to learn to organize our own brain processes. So we, as infants, are taking cues from our caregivers. And in the early stages, almost exclusively so. Emotional transactions between our caregivers and us will mold our learning of regulating emotional states. Children are basically helpless and look to their caregivers for protection and safety, sustenance, physical contact. As such, the attachment system is particularly sensitive to danger, and disturbances in the emotional state often result in anxiety and fear or a threat of separation and abandonment. Sara said you asked her about her childhood and her parents. I did, I said. Are you good with me doing that with you too? Sure, why not? There's not a lot to talk about, though. What do you mean? I asked. Well, I don't have a lot of childhood memories. High school, I do. Maybe a little in middle school, but not much before that. I asked him, what is the earliest memory you have of your childhood? As far back as you can go. He paused for a minute, looking at the ceiling. Without looking down, he said, I can't think of any one thing. Just my dad yelling a lot. At everything, at everybody. Mostly at my mom, but at us kids too. He looked down and took in my gaze. Wasn't fun. I don't imagine it was, I replied. What did you do when it was happening? He looked up and paused again. Then he chuckled. This just came back to me. I don't know if I've ever thought of this. I used to hide in the closet with Fruit Loops. The cereal? I asked. Yeah, a box of Fruit Loops. And if I buried myself far enough in the back of the closet and shut the door, it wouldn't be as loud. Do you remember what you felt? I asked. Scared to death, hoping he wouldn't find me. He never really looked, though. He just kept yelling at Mom. And then he'd storm out of the house and come back later, drunk as a skunk, and yell some more before passing out in the living room chair. It was pretty much every night. After pausing, he went on. Mom would cry and cry. I couldn't take it. The closet was my friend. What are you feeling right now? I asked him. He looked at me, expressionless. Angry, he said. I'd kill him if he wasn't already dead. When did he pass? I asked. They got divorced when I was a sophomore in high school. Mom couldn't take it anymore and ran off. Took my sister with her. Left my brother and I with him. How was that for you two? By the time we were in high school, we were both bigger than him. He fell apart when she left and the drinking got worse. He just pretty much ignored us. We got jobs and made it work. Wasn't fun taking care of him, though. The irony was really too much. We both left when my brother turned 18. I was a year older and hung around to stick it out with him. Dad died 12 years ago, by himself somewhere. He was dead to me long before that. Is your mom alive, and do you have a relationship with her? I asked. She lives in California near my sister and her family. 2 years ago, Michelle, my sister, reached out hoping to reunite Mom with me. I wasn't really for it, but eventually her and Michelle flew up for a few days and we spent some time together. How was it? Awkward. I did it for my kids mainly. Meet their grandmother. Connecting with my sister was pretty cool, though. What was it like emotionally for you reconnecting with your mom? I had a hard time with anger and resentment. She left my brother and I. We had a long talk. She was very emotional and apologetic. I have to say I didn't feel much for her. How are things between you two today? Our arrangement is still superficial, I guess I'd call it. She'd like more, but I'm not there yet. The kids have established a good relationship with her, and that's loosened me up a bit. It's going to take time. What do you think time going by will change? I'm witnessing firsthand the growing connection between my kids and her. And as that continues, I guess I feel more confident in her being a good person. Sara has even made friends with her through the kids. So for you, witnessing her kindness and compassion to your family is helping you to find empathy for her. Well, I'm sure you've surmised that I'm not big on empathy. I really don't even know what it is or what it feels like. Sara tells me I don't have any. Everyone has the capability for kindness and compassion. Key parts of empathy, Tony. It's inherently within us as humans. It can get buried and hidden early on in life through dealing with emotional trauma, rejection, and abandonment. But it's still there. We just need to find it, resuscitate it, and learn to let it be a part of our lives again. I make it sound like it's easy. It's not. It takes some work. I guess I'd like that, he replied. I'm not connecting with loved ones, and it's lonely. We ended the session on that positive note, and I promised that we would establish a plan together for working on his connecting emotionally with others. We would meet next time with Sara. Tony's upbringing with his family created his insecure attachment base that has carried with him into his adult life. His father's avoidance of any emotional connection other than his expressed anger at Tony's mother and the children, coupled with the abandonment and rejection of his mother's leaving, laid the groundwork for an emotionally incapable self, stoic and avoiding help and connection, and seeing emotional expression as a weakness. Next time, we'll look at Tony and Sara's attachment system styles and how they are affecting their relationship and their connection. We'll do this together, allowing each to not only see their own attachment style, but their partners as well. Before I go, I want to remind you all that connection is about awareness. When we are aware of our thoughts and feelings, when we are aware of the experiences that are going on in our mind, we are able to connect on a conscious level, avoiding the unconscious patterning of our past. When we have that kind of awareness, we are in the present moment, acting from the now. I found that many of us are not as versed in this awareness as we could be. So, if we want to connect from a place of awareness in the here and now, we need to learn how to do that, and that takes practice. I invite you to go to my website, kipercounseling.com, and go to the resources page. Download the MP3 file Starting your day with awareness. This is an exercise for you to practice awareness with. There is an additional file titled Why Awaken to Awareness. This is available as a listening file or a video to watch. And this file explains the starting your day with awareness exercise and what you're doing with it. Use this exercise every morning you can, and let me know how it affects your day. So that's all for now. Tune in next time as we look more at attachment systems. And remember, everyone, stay aware out there.